But if you've got questions, I'll try to answer them.
It seems like something really powerful. Why don't more people know about it?
Because you've got a sheet of front and back of cryptic meta characters, and most of us using InDesign came from like graphic design, and we don't want to learn programming languages.
But even, I mean, I've seen it in there in the find change box, and I've gone, well, I don't know what that is.
Right.
But normally in InDesign, you know, you go in there, it's like, what does that do? Did that? I'm going to go noodle in this now.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you're working on long documents, it can be a huge time saver. Or if you're doing the same thing over and over and over again each week, there's usually a way to figure out something you can do with this to make it where it's...
Question. Brenda and I both come from a background where we did a lot of this kind of stuff on mainframes and
In the 70s.
in the 70s. And it's still, even to us, we're kind of used to it. It's complicated. One little string like that, and you can't figure out how to get it to work. I think you just get tired real quick and say, eventually I can just do this faster by hand.
Well,
and
and
really try and figure this all out.
I think a lot of times people, they have access to the original document that they're getting ready to dump into InDesign in Word, and they'll just go and do it all in Word over and over again. I mean, they'll set up, you know, lots of find and replace and find and change stuff, clean it all up in Word, and then that way it comes into InDesign already perfect, or closer to perfect, even though they probably went through a lot of extra work to do that.
Well, and then I have to take the Word document and clean it up so it'll print
Right. The biggest gripe I have with Word is the way it handles URLs. It's always going to try to do an underline, change it to blue, and make it pink, and do all that stuff. I'd rather let InDesign just.
Right.
I'd rather
And-
tell InDesign what to do with those URLs.
And one of the things that I mentioned on one of the slides, and I may not have mentioned verbally, a lot of times you'll spend more time getting a GREP thing right than it would take to do it that time. But if you're going to be doing the same thing over and over again, this is worth looking into.
Well, even if it's not something, even if you spent, you know, half an hour trying to get one that you could have gone through and done in 15 minutes by hand, you're learning and you're committing it to memory so that when you go back to do it the next time, you're not as scared to think, okay, what is it? I got to look at every one, see what I need. Those things stick with you. So it's worth investing the time.
Yeah, I mean, I got something in from corporate for our new Sonar bookends indexing sort of thing, and it creates two sets of names for people and for companies out of the paper. Puts a 0 in front of people and a 1 in front of companies, and had a find change from somebody else that was done with just a text find change, you know. Find the return character and a 0, get rid of it and just put the return in. But it always left a 0 up at the top because there was no return before it. I went, okay, it'll take me a little bit to figure out a grep, but I can tell it to just find beginning of a line, 0, replace with nothing. And, you know, maybe in a month or so from now, I'll have saved time.
I did,
Yes. Go ahead.
I did bring something else with me. It was it's like a printout of all the characters and everything, and I brought it on my handy little CSS thing.
All right.
I wanted to give that to people, but because I just brought this one paper copy here.
I'm wondering if there's anything on this that is not on the... Did you get the other sheet?
You didn't give it.
Oh, you passed out 2 separate ones. I thought you just.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just got this half.
Yeah, we didn't get a second sheet. Here we go.
Okay. Yeah, Brenda, if you look at this, I think this one may be a little, I mean, if it's not any more complete, it's the same stuff on that.
Yeah, probably is.
And we didn't get the sheet that they got.
Oh, okay.
Jim, is it possible to work with links and link names? So for instance, you could, if you knew that every photo that you had of a person, I'm using people on the move as an example. If you were really good and meticulous in Lightroom when you processed all your photos and you named them exactly the way they're supposed to be named in the metadata, is there a way to say, find Thomas B. Summer Camp in the copy, and then go stick in the Thomas B. Summer Camp .jpeg that's sitting out
I
there
don't think there's a way in
that
GREP
paragraph? Okay.
to do that.
Okay.
I mean, if you would,
That would be cool, wouldn't it?
I mean, if you
Or like
would,
product names, every time you referenced, the Acme widget XL.
if
would
in
do it right.
Lightroom, you named all your pictures to where they were going to be. The first picture that flows in is up here, second picture that flows in is up here, third
Oh.
picture. You could use GREP to drop in a picture box every place you needed one.
Okay.
Grab all the pictures at once
Place,
and
place,
click,
place.
click, 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 click.
Yeah,
We've done that before, but.
yeah.
So
This is a tip, not a question, and it's not mine, but I thought it was awesome. In your body copy, paragraph style for whatever document you're working on, the first thing I do now, and I got this query from somewhere on the web, is tell it to fix any orphans. So basically, you tell it to look for, any word, a space, and then a word followed, at the end of the paragraph, and then to make that space a no-break character style. And so I don't have the query off the top of my head, but I Googled it, someone wrote it, and you just embed that into your body copy, and then any styles you base on that will pick it up. And so then you don't have to go clean that kind of stuff up afterwards. It's a huge time saver, and it's, that's one of those ones that is way better, than going through and, tweaking all that at the end.
And it sounds like if you're able to save these styles or these searches,
Mhm.
I love the one with dots, because that always, I don't know, maybe I'm OCD, but it drives me crazy when people put dots in a freaking phone number.
Amen.
Uh-huh.
Amen.
Because that's
Yes.
not the way Southwestern Bell wants it.
How come they gotta decide how?
I don't know, but
Well,
I
it
mean,
also
I
has a
just,
serious
'Cause I-
readability issue. If you're trying to read a phone number and there's periods in the middle, it
Right.
makes it a lot harder to read.
if it's text to speech, it will say
Dot.
816-555-1212, like it's a sentence.
Mhm.
But I was just thinking about that and the way that, people do URLs really funny. There's lots of questions. I've seen, there's a newspaper that I used to do some work for, and they would paste these gigantic URLs full of query stuff
Yeah.
and parameters and, ampersand ID
Mhm.
equals this and ampersand source equals that. Huge URLs that would
Yeah.
span across multiple columns,
And
multiple lines and
equal
columns.
Tnum.
Yeah, yeah. And so, how do you deal with those? And if you were making a PDF, you would want those to be actual links that, conceivably somebody sees the web version of your article on the Business Journal site, that becomes a clickable link.
Right.
Opens in a new window, blah, blah, blah. So you could do that. To where it carries all the way through, even when you're making PDFs or
Okay,
exporting.
I'm looking at some of the other people who use GREP here, probably more than I have. I'm not thinking, unless they're running that same thing the whole time.
Okay.
You want to be careful too, if you're exporting different formats, that character styles that are applied by GREP versus actually applied don't always, depending on what format you're exporting your content, they don't always carry over.
Okay.
I don't know, sometimes if you're exporting an EPUB or HTML, it can tell the difference between a character style that you've physically gone and applied and one that it's recognizing from a GREP pattern, and it doesn't always. A PDF will work, but other types of formats.
Is there a way can you make it permanent once you've applied it, like
GREP thing. If you do it as a fine change and actually like apply the character style, it's not the same as if you're doing it as embedded like in the. But if you're doing like a PDF or something, it doesn't really matter because it'll just kind of like it is. But if
You
you're
could always do something on your pasteboard and just apply all your styles and just leave it there.
Well, it's like if you need it to be applied like that, once you've applied it dynamically, then you can go, I guess, search for that and then.
And the fact that you're building this library, that's what I was getting at, is that you've already got a style that says convert fake IPs to real Bell phone numbers.
Right.
And in the case of your, fixed orphans and widows automatically, you've got that /*? Bracket equals whatever your GREP expression is. But once you've saved it, it's always there. You've got it, you can go back to it. And once you Google it, like Jim will do, you could save it and keep it kind of in your own arsenal of operations, right?
Right.
I mean, that's, to me, one of the Creative Cloud cool things, among many, is that when you install the CC version of something, it says, do you want to sync all of your settings across your account? So my MacBook Pro has the same settings for programs that my Windows 8 machine does. When I log into Creative Cloud, for the first time with that application, and I'm assuming it would save that kind of stuff.
Right. And I mean, the other thing, if you're in a work group and you aren't on the cloud yet, all of these things can be saved out as XML files and
Shared.
given to other people in the group so that they can have.
Do you know when they've done any updates to GREP, or have they, since it's been installed? Like, oh, if you're on Creative Cloud, it'll do.
I have not heard of any updates to GREP, and as far as I know, it's still the same language they were using at Bell Labs back in the 70s, so.
I wonder if Adobe TV has anything on it.
InDesign Secrets has a lot of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And how do you spell this person with the great website? Is it
Okay,
on any of these sheets?
I am passing out this batch,
Oh.
which is Carrie Jansen's website for look aheads, look behinds, positive and negative, and take some. Definitely feel free to get in touch with her, look at her site. She'll cover a lot of stuff. She covers a lot of other InDesign stuff besides just GREP as well.
I think lynda.com has some stuff on there too.
Yeah, and there is a online book on GREP that's about 80 pages of incomprehensible stuff.
How many people have actually used GREP? Not a lot.
I didn't even know it was there.
I didn't notice.
Well, that's the thing, they do a really good job of burying it,
Yeah,
where you may never know it exists. I mean, you see it, you might even see it in a dialogue, but.
I've never
I don't
seen
know
it
what that
mentioned
is.
like in a Adobe Classroom in the book or any InDesign book. Never came across it.
I mean, it's been around, I think, since InDesign 2 or something, and I've got a feeling it was just one engineer who went, we could put GREP stuff in here.
Before I retire.
Uh-huh.
There's, I don't know how many of you work with After Effects, but you could do expressions in After Effects. John, you probably know more about that. Is that regular expression, same kind of stuff in After Effects when you're actually doing math on an effect?
I mean, same, it's cryptic and difficult, but I don't know if it's the same exact.
Right. That seems to be the prerequisite is cryptic and
Well,
difficult.
the great thing, I like the fact that InDesign doesn't make you learn all these symbols. Like, there's a little menu and you can say.
You've got the
you
little
click on
picker, yeah.
Positive look behind. You don't have to go, okay, what's the character for that? It just looks.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, 6 months from now, you go back in your document and you see all these rep styles in there, then you're like, then you have to debug it. But, when you're trying to build it, you don't have to actually memorize all the little symbols.
And that's the little click the picker, and then that just inserts the meta character.
Right, when you're in the fine change box or you're in the paragraph style box where you're setting up the GREP,
That's
there's
right.
that little thing with like the @ symbol.
Okay.
Click and hold on that, and then there's
It gives you all
that
the
huge pile of stuff. Now, it doesn't have all the meta characters, which is what the other sheet is good for, to let you know about the ones it doesn't have, but
I used to work for a publishing company and we did directories, and this was a huge part of the directory person's life, was to scrub all this file data that got spit out by the VAX. And it had to be, they wrote a series of macros in Xywrite. Nobody has ever heard of Xywrite. But Xywrite was their word processor of choice, and you could just see it. You know, you'd walk by and see somebody's screen just sitting there doing all these hundreds of find and change operations in Xywrite, because then that's what they dumped into PageMaker, because it was PageMaker shop. That dates me a little bit, but man, if we'd had some of this back then, think
Right.
what we could do.
yeah, I mean, we had to have a,
Pretty powerful.
I was at a directory company that was like in competition with Ma Bell for printing yellow pages. And we
Fake
had the
Yellow
same
Pages.
thing. You know, we would get our information from Bell, and they would make sure that there was as much garbage in there as they could put in and
So no
still
one could
charge us
possibly
money.
compete with them.
And we had to hire a computer programmer from school to come in and write all the macros and everything else to clean that up, to send it to the CompuGraphic.
Oh.
I'm even older than
John and Brenda,
PageMaker.
oh, yes. How about that? Well,
Any other
It's
questions,
8 o'clock,
comments?
so we've got plenty of time for questions or whatever you want.
I'll just comment, I just did a quick search on lynda.com, and it looks like there's quite a bit of stuff.
On GREP?
Yeah. on
Oh,
Grab.
cool. Speaking of lynda.com, that's something I forgot to mention earlier. If anybody is interested, we can get you 20% off through their site. And if you just want to learn some stuff, if you were to say, I remember we had a meeting 2 or 3 years ago where our August meeting was back to school, and everybody got a box of crayons, and we talked about creativity and learning and things like that. How do you teach yourself material? And Lynda has always been a great source of that. And if you ever wanted to just go through a year of your life, 6 months of your life, where you just said, I'm going to learn everything I can about X. I want to become an expert in Illustrator. I want to become an expert in whatever, name the program. If it's any of the Adobe stuff, Lynda has tons of material on it, done by really good instructors who are excellent at what they do. It's shot professionally, it's edited well, it's closed captioned, you can speed it up, you can slow it down. I mean, it's really cool. And their annual subscription, the premium subscription, which is you get all the files and everything, is $300 with this discount. So that's, kind of along the lines of paying for Creative Cloud. You make the investment, but you've got everything you need. It's all you can need. So if anybody wants to have it, got the secret code. And the not so premium subscription is $200.
But they're both discounted.
They're both, it's like 20% off. So annual is normally $250 and it's $50 off. Premium is normally $375 and it's $300. So it's a decent discount.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
You have to be, if you're not already a lynda.com, can you still get that?
Yeah, no, that's what it's for. It's for new subscribers to set
Oh,
up
new
your.
subscriber. Okay.
I mean, if you already have it, you could, I think you could renew, like if you're on an annual, these are both annual plans.
Just tell them that you got a discount and they'll renew it.
Yeah, and you just put in this code when you
Okay.
re-up.
Okay.
Anything else for Jim?
Well, this photograph thing that you were talking about, for catalogs or for pictures or coming out of Lightroom or whatever, it sure would seem like they would have some sort of collaborative.
Some kind of metadata stuff.
Yeah, that you could make that work. I don't know if it's just.
I mean,
I
I
know
know
one.
of some plugins that will do that sort of thing for you, but I don't think you can do it just out of GREP itself.
I know of one thing, Johnny, and it's using the caption. And that might be actually, somebody should write that on the suggestion list for a meeting. I think we could do an entire meeting about nothing but metadata. What is all this kind of metadata, and what are all these formats, and what's XMP, and what's IPTC, and all that. in the IPTC, is that right? IPTC spec for photography, there's a metadata field called caption, and it's IPTC caption. And if you as the photographer go in and say, Joni Smith, 14 of Lee Summit, was the finalist in the kids swimming competition at so-and-so pool. If you put that into the metadata and hand it to Jim, he can do in InDesign a command that says, insert this photo and insert the caption from the metadata underneath it and
Well,
Right.
that's
tag it a
basically the
certain
way wire
way.
services are doing it when the photographers at Arrowhead or at the soccer team go upload their images to the wire service.
They might make them do it?
They already are keyworded
Okay.
in Photo Mechanic and captioned and all that sort of stuff.
Right.
And I imagine that caption that says, whoever catching a goal-winning touchdown in the third quarter,
Mhm.
Kansas City Chiefs versus San Francisco 49ers. I bet that caption goes into their
Into their workflow somehow.
workflow somehow. Yeah.
I'm sure it does.
Right, and I mean,
Photography, and that's, I've always had to put in the keywords and the caption, and that's what they.
That's like they require
right.
that before you.
And I mean, since InDesign 5, you've been able to set up a text box, and as long as it's like overlapping the photo a little bit, you can tell it to pull in the keyword, pull in the caption, pull in the file name, pull in the whatever metadata you want to flow in there, and it automatically puts the caption in.
Are we doing a break right now?
Yeah, I was gonna say, if we're done with Jim and we've picked his brain and we have nothing left to give, or he's got nothing left to give, we've got plenty, but why don't we take a few minutes and then we'll.
We've got
Eat
one.
more pizza, please.
We've got
Yeah,
one
stuff.
question or comment in the back.
Real quick, we were talking about this earlier. There's a plugin called Multi-Find Change that I cannot recommend enough. It's not very expensive, it's like 40 or 50 bucks. What you can do is, you've made all those GREP queries, say you've got 500 of them, and you can save them in sets. So, for example, I have this one thing at work that other people, they get some data out of a table. A really long table, it's like 90 pages, and how it spits it out is all these spaces. And so you can, but you can combine sets, it's not just GREP, you can do GREP, text, and I think object. And so you can combine them in order, and so you can set up something like, you're gonna get this big crappy automated file every time, and it's always gonna be the same. So you say, okay, these 8 searches in this order, I'm gonna highlight all the text, I'm gonna push a button, it's gonna go through and it's gonna delete all the spaces. So it's gonna go through and it's gonna delete everything that looks like this. It's gonna go through and it's gonna find everything that has a number at the beginning of it, at the beginning of the paragraph, and it's gonna format it, because these are like quizzes is what they are. And it's gonna change the paragraph style to like the question, and then it's gonna change the paragraph style to the options. And so what would take somebody manually, even just doing individual searches, quite a while, you can do the entire thing in 30 seconds.
So you're stacking all those,
Yes.
all those
And
together.
and so you're taking all of it, and you can still use them individually, it's just still the ones you've saved, but you can
Right.
combine them all together. And then you can share the sets with other people if they have the plugin. And so then you can reorder, it's like, okay, well this time, this file's a little bit different, and so if I take this one and this search and I do it at the end after it's cleaned up all this other stuff, you can just run it, and you can still edit them individually. It's there's something they were talking about on the InDesign Secrets blog, and it's saving tons and tons of time. If you have a lot of repetitive cleanup crap you have to do that's the same, it's a great little tool.
Kind of like Lightroom presets and stuff.
One of the things that I noticed is when I did this newspaper is that they brought copy in from all different people with all different skill sets of writing. Some were terrible, most were press releases that got submitted through a web form. And not everybody, too many people still put 2 spaces after a period. Who does that anymore?
Everyone.
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 So
Who puts 4 spaces in for a beginning of a paragraph?
Exactly. So I found myself doing a lot of that, especially with really poorly formatted plain text. where it's either got too many returns between paragraphs or everything's kind of smushed together funny, and
Mhm.
you know, you have to do a lot of stacking of caret P, turn all the double caret Ps into one, and
Yeah,
Anyway.
and I mean, that's what this
That sounds really
multi-fine
cool.
change.
Multi-
Do you happen to remember who wrote it?
Multi-fine change, it's, I can see the name. I'll post it on the.
Yeah.
Yeah,
do.
that would be
Good.
perfect.
It's like,
And if you could post your stuff for getting rid of orphans.
yes, I'll post the link.
Cool.
I'll give the actual originator credit.
Okay. Yeah.
In the.
It looks like it's a thing called automatication.
Automatication, that's what it is, yes. Sorry.
Glad somebody's
But still post it
online here.
anyway, 'cause we'll never remember 5 minutes.
Yeah, I'm hooking off of the restaurant's Wi-Fi.
What, you aren't using the one here?
Centric.
It's,
Yeah, actually, this is really fast.
Slurp down all those Creative Cloud updates while you're there. Yes.
In the fine change box under GREP, it comes with some pre-programmed GREPs.
Right.
Getting rid of all the word space.
Oh, cool.
Word spaces and extras and just everything, just one
Nice.
fell swoop.
And can those be applied to the entire publication or just the story?
Yes, you can choose whether you want it to
Okay.
be the whole document, all your open documents,
Oh, wow.
or just from the point where you're at to the end of the story.
Or just what you have highlighted.
Yeah, just.
So
select-
back when I was doing this paper and tearing my hair out, I could have just said,
Yeah,
fix all the
could have taken you
periods,
5
space,
minutes back.
space, and-
Yeah, it's pre-programmed. in
Wish
GREP.
I'd been here.
The automatication, or whatever, his website has a demo on multi-fine change, and it looks like a YouTube clip narrated by somebody named Carrie Jansen.
What a surprise.
Imagine that.
Oh, is she?
Yeah, and she spelled her name weird. He or she's C-A-R-I-J-A-N-S-E-N.
Yeah, yep, and if you listen to her, she's got a funny way of talking, too. She's from Perth, Australia.
Oh, nice. All right, it's 8:12. Let's take a break and come back at 8:20. Can that work? Considering the bathrooms are clear at the other end of the building, maybe we should make it 8:25. So see you back here at 8:25. You got 13 minutes. Do your business. Eat more pizza, please.
And come
That's
back
really
for
great.
the book giveaway.
We have book giveaway. We have the big grand unveiling of the photo walk winner, which I'm actually doing
Ooh.
the month after the photo walk, which is, or 2 months after, but still.
We still don't have a winner from 2 years ago, do we?
No,
No.
we gave away a
did get
prize
Tiffany-
for it.
Tiffany won last year, right?
Yeah.
I'm not playing with
Well, you deserve it.
We've got a couple of really good Photoshop books, and one of them is for our photo walk winner, and then the other, there's a couple, actually several photography related books, so take a look at those and be thinking of what you want. Raffle stuff to give away, and then we'll wrap up. So see you in 12 minutes.
So if you can